Poetic justice, Marty. A squirrel ran across the stage while people were waiting for Kamala's concession
There he
speech.
goes. He's by the flags.
Did you hear the story of the squirrel, Marty?
No, like explain that to me. It's one of those events, right? I had a busy week, Clyde. Man, I had a crazy busy week. I went to Red Deer in Alberta for the annual general meeting of the United Conservative Party, so I was focused on that for the weekend. Then I came home on Sunday night, and I log on, and there's a squirrel everywhere. So what's the squirrel story?
So okay, so there's October surprises, there's all kinds of things, and this was an unexpected thing that happened during the election cycle, right at the very end, when everybody's trying to tell no low propensity voters, things like that. You want to shift towards Donald Trump because the government has just run away and getting too involved in people's lives, and it's this juggernaut that's running at you, and it's just going to take you out. And people were not really buying into it until the squirrel came around. And the squirrel was this social media influencer squirrel named Peanut. And I know it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm trying not to laugh, but okay. I know there's a serious story here somewhere.
Right. But the story is, and I'll pop this up on the screen because this is really hard to believe. But you and I, as like libertarian leaning people, not very hard to believe, actually, after all. So what happens is this guy has a pet squirrel and a pet raccoon and saves animals. This is what he does. He has all kinds of charity for saving. He saves horses. He saves all these animals. Anyway, social media, he had this squirrel and it would run around in his house. Pet squirrel, great. And it would generate all kinds of clicks, and it helped him fundraise for all of the efforts that he was doing for a great cause. This is really all for a good cause.
Just a mascot. The squirrel's a mascot in this guy's household. He's okay, got it.
Right. So somebody calls it in to some government agency, and then all the government agencies surrounding pet ownership and all of this stuff get wind of it. Several different agencies don't know what to do. The bureaucracy comes in like a wrecking ball. And, well, I mean, let's just play the clip.
Just learned that they have euthanized Peanut.
And the raccoon as well.
And the raccoon as well. I am so sorry. This must be really difficult for you.
It not only tears my family apart, but Peanut was the cornerstone of our nonprofit animal rescue. And 10 to 12 DEC officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. I was sat at my house for 5 hours. I had to get a police escort to my bathroom. I wasn't even allowed to feed my rescue horses breakfast or lunch. I was sat there like a criminal after they interrogated my wife to check out her immigration status.
So it's egregious what happened.
I don't even want to hear the rest of it because my blood is boiling thinking about this. We've seen these stories before. We've seen these stories, right?
Like, so it sounds like a ridiculous thing, and it makes you want to laugh at first, but then you hear that this is just like massive, just stupidity of government. And the reason why Donald Trump was to be elected in this election, the reason why we're arguing that we need a conservative government and hold their feet to the fire on top of their propensity to just run away with their bureaucracies as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is people becoming politically active and saying, really, a squirrel? At the end of the day, you came after a guy for a squirrel, and really it was, like he said, the cornerstone of his nonprofit, his charity to save animals. So yeah, this woke a lot of people up, and it probably brought a lot of votes to Donald Trump yesterday, which amazingly, Donald Trump won not only the college, he didn't just win the colleges, he won
the electoral college. He won
the popular vote, which made it so there is no chance that anybody is going to question the results of this election. It is straight up a decisive win for Donald Trump.
Well, I was absolutely. I mean, I was up till 1 o'clock last night, 2 o'clock, in a couple, and I could have called it like right away. It started out so fast, right? Like it started out like, 100 to 12 and so forth. And then it was like 200 to 160 and then a little bit of back and forth, but not very much, right? I mean, not a lot of back and forth. Actually, interestingly enough, like some of the states, like, I was watching it, and as soon as they closed the polls in California, for instance, like within seconds, they had California as like dark blue 1. And then you click on this, like 1% votes counted, but done. And yeah, and he won, right? And it was crazy. And then one of the things that was for me that was fascinating this morning is I actually looked at, like, even while I was watching it yesterday, you see Donald's got 65 million votes and Kamala's got like 60 million. I'm doing the math in my head. And then I kept reminding myself, wait a minute. Didn't you guys say that Biden won by 80 last time? And then you start looking at the trend. Now this morning, there's people saying that there's the missing 25 million votes. No. I think there was an extra 25 million votes in 2020. But
yeah, the last time around was really sketchy. And this is what a lot of people are sharing. Like, this is the results from last election. Trump was in a clear lead, ready to go. And we're not allowed to say it because it's against the terms of service on YouTube to question the integrity of that election. It was the most sound election ever in history. But one of the most amazing sound parts and most perfectly normal things that happened was at midnight, or just right around midnight, depending on what time zone you were in. It went whoop for Biden, massively high for Biden. And this was the graph that people were showing, and it slowly became this graphic.
And
for 4 years, it was this graphic.
And this graphic was superimposed over a profile of Donald Trump because it looks like his hairstyle. Oh, you're getting there. Okay.
We're getting there because well, this is the F, right? The F. People saying F for fraud. You might call it F for whatever you want, but this was the graph that took place. Now, people were saying, "Hey, this means." Right, there's no more margin for error. Margin for error is out the window. We don't worry about that. We're worried about the margin for fraud, where people might pull a fast one, do things. And they had this idea of too big to rig. This was, we need to get as many people out there, popular vote, forget it. We're not just worrying about the electoral colleges. We're getting everybody out there, even encouraging people in Democrat run states. Don't matter. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. Even if you know you're going to lose in your county, you're going to lose in your state. Don't worry about it. Get out there and get that popular vote, because we need it to be too big to rig. And then obviously what you were alluding to there was the new graph. And this isn't exactly what happened, because that big margin for fraud didn't even happen. It didn't even happen.
No, this time they started out like they are on the bottom left, and the gap just got slowly bigger, and that was it. They're still counting. I looked a little while ago. I mean, I stayed up till 1 a.m. last night, and you got news stations like, let's say, Fox calling it, and I was looking at it, and I didn't want to call it myself until I had done the math and felt comfortable calling it. As it stands right now, we're still waiting on Nevada and Arizona. Somebody said, I asked, like, why is that taking so long? And somebody says, well, it's illegal to count cards in Arizona, or in Nevada. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Funny joke, but yeah. That whole thing of too big to is true, and it's important. I've talked about that before. Like if let's say we're in a town of 100 people, and only 10 of us go out and vote. Well, we'd have to find each other. I find you in that town. I go, who'd you vote for, Clyde? And you go, I voted for so and so. And then, but the results contradict you and I. But we can't find everybody else. We'd have a hard time verifying it. But if we live in a town of 100, and everybody goes out and votes, and everybody we talk to says, oh, I voted for Trump, I voted for Trump, I voted for Trump, but somehow or other the result is the opposite, you could go, well, that makes, it's so it's counterintuitive, but it's definitely easier to cheat any system when there's less people. So congratulations.
When it's close, like that's the thing. Like what happened recently in British Columbia, whether you think fraud occurred or not, it was very, very close. And when it's close, and when the powers that be are making it really, really loose and easy to get in there and commit fraud, people will assume that fraud is happening. That's it's unavoidable. The only way to avoid that is to have free, fair elections.
Well, those were
on one day. We talked about that.
Yeah, and in my world, last night online, that was hilarious because everybody was making jokes. Like they're still laughing at BC, like BC elections. Whoever the commissioner of BC elections, people were like, "Hey, we're going to hear about the Trump results before we hear about BC," which is technically correct. Like BC yesterday, if I understand correctly, found a ballot box.
Yeah,
like there was an unopened ballot box that was. Anyways, I don't want to talk about BC. I still want to keep talking about Trump. I mean, I was shocked. I expected Trump to win. I truly did. I saw the things like you said. I didn't see the Squirrel story, but I remember. I mean, for me, the turning point was when on the campaign trail, not Joe Biden, but on the campaign trail when he was debating Kamala at one point. And the mediator asked Kamala, like, would you do anything different? You were in power for 3 years. Would you do anything different? She said no. I thought that day, ooh, you just lost, right? I mean, there's people screaming that they want change, and you just basically said you'd do things the same. And
celebrities did nothing. That was the other thing. This big thing of all the celebrities coming out.
Yep.
People are fed up with celebrities.
Well, apparently they're all on their way over here now.
Well, everyone's mocking them for
Yeah.
for making promises to leave the country if Donald Trump was elected. And all the jokes, all the planes leaving. There are no planes leaving. Nobody's leaving. Nobody's. Let me put it this simple: no celebrity who has millions and millions of dollars is going to take that millions and millions of dollars and come to a higher tax jurisdiction. Not going to happen.
No,
not going to happen. Especially when the guy who just got elected that you don't like wants to lower your taxes even more.
Yeah.
Like it's not happening. These people, they're charitable with other people's money. That's why they want socialism. When it comes to their own money, they have a completely different outlook on life.
Totally.
Whoa, no, you don't touch my stuff. I'm gonna put that in.
Think,
whatever I got.
Speaking of celebrities, like think of what Trump overcame to win again, right? They threw everything at him. Everything, right? I mean, they charged him with all sorts of crimes. They took him to court. They made up lies if they had to. The celebrities were against him. The music industry was against him. Mainstream media was absolutely against him. Who else was against him? Like,
social media companies were against
social
him.
media
Google, like the biggest corporation on earth, who incidentally got rid of their motto that they had originally. Don't be evil was their motto. They got rid of that right before.
And then the Democrats brought out Clinton, Obama, Oprah Winfrey, everybody. I mean, he was under a barrage.
Jimmy Carter out. They wheeled him out in a wheelchair, and it was embarrassing.
And they honestly, they really didn't. It's a question I put out there for people. Like, why do you think they attacked him so hard? And it's not because he's a threat on democracy. No. It's not because he's a threat on democracy. He's a threat to them. He toned down.
He is a threat. I don't think he's a threat. I think the idea of their skeletons in their closets getting out being the biggest threat. And I think whether it's the 3-letter agencies, whether it's people with
the Epstein list or
weird stuff that they like doing in their free time, this stuff is all going to come out, and it's because this is the dirt they have on each other. This is what keeps everybody in line. If you got dirt on somebody, it's great. We got a dream team of people who have no dirt. If there was any dirt on Trump, it'd be out there by now. Don't you think that they would use everything in their power to get that dirt out there? If there was any dirt on Elon, it would be out there. If there was any dirt on Tulsi Gabbard, it would be out there. If there's any dirt on RFK, it would be out there. And this is what's beautiful about what just took place. It's great.
No, it's gorgeous. And I'm happy for the Americans. I'm happy for us in a sense. I'm happy for us because I hope it creates an awareness among ourselves that, you know, we've always said it, like if we wake up and we're there's more of us than them, and so we can regain control of our country. I'm happy for the Americans. In the short term, I'm a little nervous about us, because I think Trump will do so good by the Americans that he's going to hurt other countries in the process, right? I mean, his talk of tariffs is brilliant, but as a Canadian who works in the oil industry, who sells a product to the Americans that they already have, I know he's going to slap a tariff on us, or he might not. He might not. I mean,
well,
he
probably will as a you know, a preliminary thing. Hey, well, you know, we've got these trade barriers. Let's come out swinging. And this is why I think it was great that Pierre Poilievre came out swinging. I don't know if you caught this video, but
No.
Pierre Poilievre put this out before the results of the election came out. And this is better, way better than some.
Whoa, let me read that headline. No matter
sky.
who wins the U.S. election, Canadians want their money back. What? That's
Oh,
a weird
okay. You haven't seen this. All right.
No,
well, this
no,
is
I
going to
haven't.
be a treat for you, because instead of putting out some fluff piece saying like, "Oh, we're going to have great relations," and just like super generic, he gets right to the point, and I like this.
$450 billion of our investment money has poured out of Canada into the United States. We used to get more U.S. investment from them than they got from us, and now that is reversed. $500 billion of our investment dollars building mines, pipelines, businesses that pay American workers. I want our money back. So I will. My number one priority, whether it's Harris or Trump, is one, to drive a hard bargain with Washington on softwood lumber and on Buy America to get fair and equal access for our construction, lumber, cement, steel, aluminum businesses, so that we can get the jobs and the money back. Second, I'm going to cut the taxes and the red tape so that we bring businesses, paychecks, and jobs back to Canada. Right now, Canadian workers make $20,000 less than their American counterparts. They get 55 cents of investment for every investment dollar an American worker gets. Why? Because of Trudeau's destructive economic policies that send our money, jobs, and businesses south. I will be cutting the taxes, balancing the budget, eliminating the red tape, and negotiating a hard bargain so that we can bring home our jobs and our businesses.
This is great.
It's great, but it's an interesting message. I mean, okay, now I get what he said. I think it would have been more interesting, like, if you sort of did it to I guess because it was addressed to both. But now let's say I was addressing it to just Trump. I would have said, you know, I'd say it's sort of in jest. I'm like, okay, game on, Donald. I'm going to get some of my business back that you stole from me, which is what he's saying, right? I mean, because he's specifically talking about, you know, these international investors that can go invest anywhere in the world. And you and I have talked about this a million times. They're not going to come here. They like, and that's on Trudeau. That's on us, right? So yeah, great ad, Pierre, but I would have put a little more humor in it. You know what I mean? Like, put a little more humor, like, game on, you know, like you're gonna do your thing, I'm gonna do my thing, and we'll collaborate, and together we'll get some of this money back here. Like,
well, here's the contrast, right? Here's the contrast. This is Chrystia Freeland talking about the same question that was asked to her.
Hang on. I got to grasp on something, because as soon as I hear her talk, like, okay, I'm ready.
Here we go.
Thank you for having me on tonight. And I have heard a lot of people talking about their anxiety on your show. And so I do just want to start by saying, I know a lot of Canadians are anxious, but I really want people to be reassured. And I want Canadians to know that no matter what Americans choose tonight, Canada will be just fine. I would even say more than fine. I think there is no country in the world better positioned to have an excellent relationship with the United States and better positioned to thrive no matter who Americans choose. So
you notice she talks slower. She slows right down, like she's talking to children.
Clyde, I'm looking at the watch on my wrist, you know, that measures my heartbeat and my cardiac pulse, and it's like you're stressing me out, dude. Don't put her on the screen. Like, God, please.
I get comments every time I do. Stop putting her on. Don't let her speak. It's
Yeah.
infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating to be spoken down to by a mental midget. Like let's just keep that
Totally.
straight. She's not a smart person. She's put in a position to manage finances. She's destroying the country. Like she's destroying the country. And she's talking down to all the Canadians like they're children. She slows down her voice as if she's a daycare worker. Like this is the reality of the situation that we are in right now. And the end of the Trudeau regime with all of these characters cannot come soon enough.
No,
it cannot.
Now, miraculously, some of them were there before when on Trump 1.0, right? I mean, maybe not. Freeland would not have been deputy minister under Trump 1, right? She came in much later. No, she wasn't, because
she
under
was
the
in
first
cabinet, though.
She was in cabinet, but she never would have dealt with Trump, because in the first cabinet it would have been guys like Morneau and more statesman kind of people, right? Boy, can you imagine Trump and somehow or other Freeland steps into the room, or Vance and Freeland steps into the room? They'll be like, lady,
embarrassing.
Whoa. Like, get the hell out. Like, oh my God. And to that clip, I just watched it quickly. That was shot during she was called on the CBC radio show, right? Obviously, and she was talking,
and it was
she was talking long before the end of the election, right? She was talking before it was called. Yeah. Do you have? And she was referring to people feeling anxious. You know what makes me feel anxious? No, it's not. It's not the election in the U.S. It's Chrystia Freeland and CBC. Like, holy smokes, man. I watched the election yesterday, like you, right? I mean, I watched our friend Sean Newman's podcast a little bit. I watched some YouTube channels. I didn't watch it on mainstream media. I
watched Louder with Crowder. He's been doing election coverage for a number of years now, and every year it's better, or every time it's better. And great coverage.
But then this morning I see all the clips of what the CBC did last night. I mean, the CBC's coverage of the election was absolutely embarrassing. Like, do you have clips of that, or like? Oh,
I've got several clips. It depends on what you're looking for, but I mean, here's the one that everybody's talking.
The one that
about.
went viral. I say it went viral for all the wrong reasons. The one where the American commentator was invited. Yes, this one. Oh my God, that lady.
This is just unbelievable.
Let's talk about exactly the question that you're asking is one that I've been catching a lot of heat for answering on air, and we've been talking about this in the last week or two. You're talking about the propaganda campaign and the playbook of Trump. This is not new. This is not surprising. This is directly out of Hitler's playbook. This is out of an autocrat playbook.
Look at the looks on the other guy's face.
The things that Trump has done masterfully, frankly, is to get the entire, to get a big part of the population to believe that the game is rigged, and to sow distrust in public institutions and the free press. That is a tried and true playbook that we have seen time and time before, that has resulted in really disastrous things for society. And that is what's working. And so it's actually quite simple. When you tell a big enough lie,
where have we heard this?
People are going to believe it, even when,
like, the lie that he's Hitler.
Giuliani and others have literally
look at the guy next to her. Like, he's almost in disbelief. Like, he's like, oh my God, we brought this
person over. Still believes it.
Yeah.
And the whole goal was to erode.
Well, and the thing is, she was browbeating him just before for having brought up the Hunter Biden laptop story, and the fact that it was real, and that the social media companies getting involved. JD Vance's argument was that's like interference in an election, and that was the thing. But I love to show this one, because this is
leave this one up for 1 second. I want to talk. Well, do you have another one? I don't want to lose a thought.
Well, I just wanted to bring up her tactic, and that's the tactic of everyone I don't like is Hitler.
Yeah.
I know, Child's Guide to Political Discussions, but that's where she's getting her playbooks. But yeah, let's put this.
And you've heard of Godwin's law too, right? I mean, Godwin's law says in any argument online, and we're all guilty of it. I mean, eventually Hitler gets brought up. But I want to say two things about this clip. First of all, it's obvious that, like, I know who she is, right? She's a political commentator from the U.S. She used to run campaigns from Democrats and everybody else, and she's got her own colorful record. I mean, and it's not a coincidence that she's there, because the CBC truly expected Harris to win. And so this is the question I posed this morning. Imagine if Harris had win, what these people would be saying. It would be. I can't imagine if Harris had won, how the CBC would spin it. Like, it would just like their propaganda would just take on a whole new level, right? So I'm glad. So this is how they're mad, because they lost. But the other thing is, Ryan at the top there said defund the CBC, and after I saw those clips this morning, I posted something today. I said I might actually hold Poilievre accountable if he doesn't defund the CBC. Like,
yeah,
I'm at the point now. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Axe to tax, cut back immigration. Those are all things I stand for. They're great. They're things you're promising. But I'm actually going to draw a line in the sand and say, the one I want you to deliver on, Pierre, right out of the gate when you get elected, get rid of the CBC, man.
Yeah, well, not only that, like the whole promise is to defund the CBC and stop funding media. Stop funding media, period. So that they'll have to get their money from other sources, i.e. appease their viewer base, not appease the government, because
provide content that people want to watch. And
that's
and
exactly
then
it.
Yeah.
But there's a huge danger in relying on the government for a revenue source when you run media, because then you'll only run stories that are good for the government. And obviously, with a conservative getting in that says he's gonna defund them, they're gonna do everything to get him out of power as soon as possible. So his best bet right out of the hop is to defund the CBC and get rid of all media subsidies. Period.
It's a pillar of our democracy that is completely failed, right? Like, democracy for me is 5 pillars, right? It's the voter and his vote or her vote, the government, the opposition, the media, and the experts who critique policy. And the media is supposed to be there to bring us both sides of a story and in an unbiased way, and help educate the people so that they can cast a vote with some intelligence behind it. And the media has failed. And yes, fundamentally, the media can't fulfill its role in our democracy if it's paid by the government. I don't know why people don't understand that. There could be one state-run government agency like the CBC used to be, right? Where you provide you tuned into the CBC on some far end of the spectrum on your AM radio. Like, you had to go all the way to 580, and then you'd get this faint signal when you lived in Tuktoyaktuk. And so you still had to, you still knew a little bit of news. Actually, speaking of Tuktoyaktuk, like, Catherine Tate, the current president of the CBC, was on, she was in in committee last week defending the bonuses or whatever. She's done. But anyways, she took credit for that. She's like, if it wasn't for CBC radio, the Inuktitut language would be dead now. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. All right. Whatever.
Okay. You have
illusions of grandeur. Go for
it for that.
Yeah.
Now it's funny because it is an active part of democracy to have an informed general public, right? And people are misinformed because of the news.
Completely
misinformed because of the news. So they're not at the end of the day trying to protect democracy. They're trying to protect the bureaucracy. And somebody took AI and changed the word democracy for bureaucracy on a bunch of news clips. And I got to show this because it's just hilarious.
People didn't notice, or okay?
No, this is great because it really shows their motives instead of what they're actually saying.
If the Democrats fail, it might be the end of American bureaucracy.
Our bureaucracy really is in fundamental peril.
The foundations of American bureaucracy under attack.
They want to destroy our bureaucracy.
We are a bureaucracy in danger.
We're watching an election where people are on the ballot
openly advocating the end of bureaucracy.
That's what Republicans are doing, attacking bureaucracy, attempting to destroy bureaucracy, and they're doing it with glee.
This is the end of bureaucracy in America.
When will America stop sleeping?
Yeah, that's clever. But while we're here, I'm going to say, Eva, you got me, Eva Chipyak. So this morning, Eva posted something where she used kind of that quote, bureaucracy and democracy, and I fawned over it. I was like, wow, that's brilliant. And I made a big comment. Okay, she got me. So she stole that from those guys, but that's good. Anyways,
it's okay. Is that where she got that? Fair enough.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe those guys got it from Eva. Sorry, Eva. Okay, if those guys got it from you, well then yeah, I take it back. No, that's a great tweet, or that's a great comment, right? They're trying to protect our bureaucracy. I love that. When I heard it this morning, I loved it, and I love it even more now that I've put that video in the link. Put a link to that video in the
description, so everyone can have a copy of it. Yeah, it'll be down there. It'll be down there. But another great thing about having these punditry, like this whole punditry, and have them run late, many hours into the wee hours of the morning to do this election coverage, some things start to slip. And maybe some opinions that are real opinions end up coming out. And well, that was definitely the case last night with what's her name, Rosie Barton at CBC, because this is a great clip, because this is her basically kind of spilling the beans on what she really thinks, perhaps, or the truth she's coming to.
There's that's a big.
She got the majority of women. If you look at the, I mean, she's
sure, but then she would have won if she'd gotten them all, right? Which was what she was appealing to by the end of it. I mean, you guys talked about the gender gap at the beginning, and that to me speaks to the idea that we've been talking about, that she didn't offer a way to fix things for people right now who feel like the system is broken for them. And the line that stood out to me in that Donald Trump speech was, we had a common core of common sense. And that stood out for me because it's what our conservatives say too.
Correct.
We
that
have
phrase.
a common sense response to what is happening. And
I love it. I absolutely.
She had, if she was on the campaign trail and she was a politician, we'd call that a bozo eruption, right? A bozo eruption is when a politician actually accidentally tells you the truth. But you caught me with that one. I didn't think that's the clip you were going to show me. That's a great clip. But she also had another clip similar to that where she said maybe the Democrats went too far to the left. And
I've got that clip, and I can play that now if you want to see that one as well.
Sure. I think we need to start talking about the idea that you posited there, and that the gal in Georgia posited, that the Democratic Party has moved too far to the left, that they are no longer representing the vast majority of Canadians, of Americans.
Interesting.
It's late.
But
same thing here.
It's all coming out, Rosie. It's all coming out.
It's too good, and I'm loving seeing this, because it's like, is this how you really feel? Are you just coming to this conclusion? Is this really like where
it might not be how she really feels, but what she's slipping into right there at that moment is she's being a journalist and making a correct observation. We're just not used to her making those kinds of observations, but somebody very impartial presenting the balance, or not the balance, but both sides of a debate or whatever, would legitimately say that, that maybe the Liberals and the Democrats have gone too far to the left and not be laughed at. But she gets laughed at because we know why. I mean, coming from her, that's rich. Like, that's, like I drew a little picture this week, even for myself, because I've been debating similar to this topic all week, right? I debated on I'm a conservative, and I've been debating that I'm more conservative than most people. And I drew a little scale anyways. So I'm ranting. I'm rambling a little bit. One of the reasons I'm not more conservative. My conclusion at the end is I'm not more conservative. I've always been this conservative, but the left is running over a cliff that way so far that you and I, as libertarians, are appearing completely radical to a group of people. But that's because we haven't moved.
But that's only to them. And the punditry, I think the punditry is slowly starting to catch on. Like, they're moving along with them because that's the apparatus. But
Yeah.
then they're starting to go, wait a second, that's moving. I'm
Yeah.
not on solid ground. Hold on a second. And
Yeah.
then they're coming around. And there's no exception greater than Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, as he came out to basically rag on the Democratic Party. It's just, this is beautiful.
Of the donor class. So they go in there like, oh, donor, give me money, please. And I made an ad. I'm Kamala Harris. I'm full of joy. Okay, well, what did that get you? And they say, oh, Jake, you're too angry. Too angry? What? You think, does Donald Trump look like he's kind? Does he look like he's in a good mood? I mean, no, people want some sort of reaction from their politicians. They want them to represent them, to fight for them. But that has never occurred to a Democrat outside of Bernie Sanders, and probably we never will. So look, I have no interest in listening to a single Democratic politician ever again. They can go kiss my ass. They can do whatever they want. And we never listen to them anyway. They hate us because we're right and they're wrong. They're always wrong. And they hate us for being right, okay? So, but they're not gonna learn. You have to beat them in a primary. That's your only hope.
That's your only hope. Beat them in a primary. And you know what? This is what happened in the Republican Party. This is what's happened in the Conservative Party in Canada. Is the demographic has shifted because people said, no, enough of these rhinos, get them out. Get them out. Enough of these, conservative and name only guys, get them out. That's what happened with O'Toole during the Freedom Convoy, ousted. And then, intern leader, and then they had a leadership race, and that's when Pierre came in. Pierre came in because he was more sympathetic to the ideas of the every person, you know what I mean? Not this establishment, type of party. And this is where it's going. You want to call it what you will. Call it what do they call it? Populism. Populism is ruled by the people. This is where we should be going. I don't know why populism is a bad word, but I tend to agree with it. We should be
I have populism memes that I use all the time. I mean, like basically the opposite of populism is elitism. It's pretty simple. Like that's the most and so if somebody's against populism, by definition, they're almost on the other side and they're elitist. And so that's why populism scares people, scares the establishment, scares politicians and people like that.
But this is what I love. So like Cenk Uygur is by far a huge lefty. Like he's a huge lefty. I disagree with him on most stuff, but I'm actually championing this moment because he's realizing that this establishment that he's been fighting for forever has abandoned him. Just like we had discovered all this time ago.
He really had an epiphany yesterday, right? I mean, a lot of his clips yesterday were similar to that. And hey, now it's too early. I don't think there's too many clips on there. I've seen a few, but you want to see another group that was shocked by this was the girls from The View, right? Like Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg and whatnot. And they were saying something similar. Like the way they were talking, they literally sounded like elitists who are scared of the populace and the common folk. And they were saying something like, the way they were talking, like they're like, well, maybe we should listen to the common folk, like almost using that kind of language. I'm like,
yeah, maybe
you should, maybe, because it's
you don't want to have your Marie Antoinette moment.
No. Yeah, no, the other commentator I didn't see much of last night was I didn't see much of Alex Jones for some reason. I don't know how was Alex last night? Did he have any special moment, or do you have any clip of him? Or
so I have a clip. I'm gonna get another clip because now that you've mentioned it, but he did post this, and this was a clip of basically all the people freaking out, and we enjoy this.
Oh yeah,
it's so much fun to see. So Alex Jones says leftists flipping out over Trump re-election ultimate compilation. It is okay to laugh, Alex Jones reports. And here's the clip.
Yeah.
We are fucking over, you fucking dumbass.
Wow.
I hope that you choke on a piece of concrete and literally go to hell. I will see you in fucking hell, you fucking asshole.
Was that one breaking up with her boyfriend who voted Republican? Like,
maybe. Look at all of them. Look at all of them.
We're about to show you some more of the latest complete meltdowns.
he looks good, eh? What's he doing? Is he doing the carnivore diet, or what's Alex doing? Like,
how is he ever looking good? In fact, this is what I was going to get to. I actually tweeted this out last night because I was so shocked. Let me pop this on the
he
screen.
must be hanging out with Joe Rogan a little bit or something like that. Or doing
Look
the
at
jaw
him.
exercise. He's lost weight. He's lost about 75 pounds, I'd say.
Holy cow. So I even tweeted it out because I was watching Louder with Crowder and he was on there. And I said, damn, Alex Jones looking healthy watching him on Louder with Crowder. And oh, you can't make this up. And then the shirt came off.
Oh, yeah. That looks a little bit doctored, but maybe it's not. Look good on you.
I took the screenshot of it live.
Oh, good on you,
Yeah.
Alex. Yeah, good job. Some of those meltdowns were hell.
But
Go ahead.
He couldn't help himself. He had to do the supplement plug, selling his supplements. This is how I got so healthy.
Yeah. No, some of those meltdowns were hilarious. I mean, there was one lady, several people melting down. One guy was like, "Oh, I can't believe I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to be a slave." A lot of women were whining that, actually, one of the ladies, no, actually, not just whining. This was not a melt. This was on The View. I saw clips on The View. One of the ladies on The View, one of the black ladies, literally said, "My daughter under Trump will have less rights than whatever her Civil War great grandmother," or something like that. I'm like, you guys are mentally deranged, man. This is mental.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like the left, in all honesty, they have been fighting for special privileges in the past, I don't know, decade now. Like, yes, historically fighting for rights for, equality for everybody. But then we got that.
Yep.
We actually got that.
They got to keep fighting for something now. Yeah.
But that's it. Like, once everybody has rights and then you start singling out groups and then want to get them stuff, now you're talking about getting them special privileges. And those aren't rights. A special privilege takes away the opportunity of somebody else and their rights. So what we want is everybody to have their rights. Absolutely. And no one's going to disagree with that statement.
Yeah.
Except lunatics, obviously. But what they're, like I said, what they're advocating is for special privileges. And maybe people will lose their special privileges, but this isn't what the classic fight was for.
Well, and it's a little bit on this line, but maybe not quite. But I went to Red Deer this weekend in central Alberta for the annual general meeting of the Conservative Party, and it happened at a big convention center, and there's a gate, and they had a little bit of security, right? And as I was pulling up, there were protesters outside, lots of protesters. And so I couldn't help myself. So I parked my car, and before going into the meeting, I went outside to see the protesters and do a little video. And there's protesters there holding signs that say, stop Danielle Smith. She's a dictator. And I just had to walk up to one lady and go, like, really? Do you really, like, if she was a dictator, you wouldn't be standing on the corner protesting right now. Like, seriously, like, Go run your sign in North Korea saying Kim Il-jung is a dictator, and stand on the corner and see how long you'll last, or go do it.
Devil's advocate. There's people on our side that they compare Trudeau to a dictator, for example.
Yes. Fair enough. But I wouldn't. Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I just want to throw that out.
Yeah. No, that's right. He.
Now, I happen to think that Trudeau is leaning towards authoritarianism. I don't think he's an outright dictator in the moment, but
he's a benevolent dictator. He's a benevolent dictator.
Yeah, so the consolidation and the pursuit of the consolidation of power into the hands of fewer and fewer people, I think is the wrong direction. That's authoritarianism. And when I say, like, yeah, he's he's a wannabe dictator. I'm not saying it in some like hyperbolic manner. I'm actually saying it in a pragmatic way. I disagree with the approach that he's taking. Now, when they say that Danielle Smith is a dictator, that makes me say like, well, hold on a second.
Show me something that she's done that makes her a dictator.
Yeah, and she's obviously like doing her damnedest to appease the left by not stepping in where we think she would be fair to step in and say something about particular cases in law, things like that.
Yeah.
She's staying way back, and yet they still call her a dictator. I don't see eye to eye with that, but yeah, I mean,
actually, we can go in a lot of directions with this, but I'll just go in one quick direction with this.
Yeah.
Just before coming on the show, I was on a space with Leighton Gray. Have you ever had Leighton on your show? Leighton Gray. He's
no, I haven't.
The Gray podcast, and anyways, Leighton gave a master class in that space on our Constitution. It was a master class on our Constitution. And one of the things Leighton talked about is the absolute power of our prime minister. Our prime minister has more power. I knew this, but it's never been really explained to me. But our prime minister has more power than the president of the United States.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just so is he a dictator? No, but he has a shit ton of power. Like and Leighton was
taking powers that the prime minister doesn't actually have. He was
absolutely
in a dictatorial way. He was assigning basically laws during COVID under emergency powers before the Emergency Act, and assigning new measures, protocols.
Well, that's what. So
you want to call them. This is ruling by decree. He didn't go to the parliament. There was no vote on it. There was no consultation with.
No, they were orders in council, which he's allowed to do. No, and this is what Leighton was talking about. So he was talking about the obvious powers, right? So he has he reminded us that Trudeau appoints pretty much every judge in this country, every senator, the governor general, the commissioner of the RCMP, like the commissioner of the Canada Revenue Agency. Like he just appoints everybody. And then when he's not happy enough appointing everybody, he gives himself extra powers through orders in council. And when he's not happy with those, he gives himself extra powers with bills like C-293 and whatever. And so when Leighton was laying out this masterclass, I'm like, holy smokes, man. Yeah, our prime minister has a schwack of power. Hey, I don't want to go there. Nah, I was going to go to 293. Let's leave 293 for another day.
We'll leave that one for another day.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk briefly while we still have a little bit of time. Well, everybody's talking about Donald Trump and everybody's talking about how excited or appalled they are at the results of the U.S. election. Here in Canada, they're pulling a fast one on us and giving out more money than we ever had to give away. And thank God for some of the other news outlets that are out there. True North putting this one out. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland announces more support for Ukraine. $50 billion in loans.
Holy smokes. Whoa, hang on. I wasn't listening. Play it again. $50 billion? Okay, but it's not in giveaway. It's going to be loans that we'll forgive later. That's a huge amount, Clyde.
Yeah, because
that's nuts.
Because Ukraine is going to pay us back the $50
billion.
Yeah,
yeah, they'll never pay us, but wow.
At the IMF World Bank meetings in Washington a couple of weeks ago, on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank meetings in Washington, the G7 finance ministers concluded a very important agreement for the support of Ukraine. This is something that our G7 leaders announced at their summit at the beginning of the summer. A really novel and creative and collaborative arrangement whereby using the assets, the frozen assets of the Russian central bank as security, we have come together to extend a $50 billion loan, a $50 billion sum of money to Ukraine. That is Canada, the US, the EU, Japan, and the UK working together. Canada is providing $5 billion of that sum, $5 billion.
Yeah, $5 billion. That's still a lot.
I
We
can't
don't
believe the
have that.
Americans are on board.
Source of
This is just crazy. This is
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
Wonder if they're getting
just
prime rate.
and-
Whose prime rate are they getting? Our prime rate or the American prime rate?
But this is the thing. I'm just listening to that portion of it now for the first time, that they're gonna use the Russian central bank as collateral, as if
they're frozen assets, Russian frozen assets. Like what?
Oh, Russian frozen assets.
What does
Is there
we don't have
$50
any
billion of Russian frozen assets?
No,
really?
we don't have anything frozen that belongs to the Russians because we'd have no reason to do it. So Ukraine apparently froze Russian assets. Okay, so if I was Russia, I'd palm the shit out of those assets and make them worthless. Whatever. I mean, I'm like, this is so complicated, so convoluted.
It just doesn't make sense. It just makes zero sense.
Plus,
and this is
now
why
that
we need rid of this government.
Yeah, and now that Trump is elected, I think I kind of think that Trump, one of his first things will be to call a meeting with Putin and Zelensky and put an end to this bullshit. I think he will. I we'll see. But yeah, Christian, we don't have that money, man. Like even if our share is just $5 billion, like come on, man. They're handing out cash like left, right, and center. Like stop.
Just $5 billion.
Just $5 billion. Yeah. Wow.
They have the audacity to throw numbers out like that.
Yeah. No, and there's still people who make fun of me because I had it from like we've sent Ukraine other stuff over the last 2 years, right? I mean, recently we sent them a shipment of small arms ammunition. We'd have no more small arms to send them. We sent them a crate of like 1911s from 1911, I think. And
that's a nice gun. I love the 1911.
Yeah. And then we sent him some surplus ammunition, and then we sent him some chassis of old tanks. Like, here, take the chassis. I mean, the axles are gone. We already gutted them. We already took the good parts off of there, but here's some chassis. Like,
what in the heck?
Exactly. Like, can you imagine you're the poor Ukrainian guy, the plane lands and it's about to unload, and you're like rubbing your hands like, oh, goody, what did Canada send us? And then you open the box and you go, what the hell is this? A 1911 from 1911?
It reminds me of like old cartoons when it looks like they found food and they open it up and it's just fish bones.
Yeah.
Those fish bones. But that's where we're at. And one other thing that just came to mind because they're giving away money. Telesat, they gave away $2 billion.
2.5, yeah,
$2.5 billion to a company that has no obligation, has not done it, and has zero obligation to actually provide the services of internet to Canadians, which is the whole reason for having it.
Yeah.
This just seems like another one of those crazy schemes to enrich rich.
Oh no! It's beyond crazy, Clyde. Telesat went up 60% since that time. Like their stock value has gone sky high. Like that's a fact. People have made a fortune from Telesat. Hey, we're running out of time, but I want to mention two things. So when Telesat came out, everybody at the time, remember, everybody said, "Hey, Elon can do it for the same price, for cheaper, right? Elon can do Starlink." Did you see Trump's acceptance speech yesterday? He had a bromance with. He had the moment when he's talking about Elon.
We gotta save our billion, or what does he say? Our super geniuses.
But when he had like that bromance where he's like, I watched him launch the rockets. The rockets came back. It was great. I had him on hold, and then I asked him about Starlink, and I don't know what Starlink is, but I can't do Trump. I got to practice my Trump. But he was going on, and
he went on.
What
for
a super
a while
team, though! What a
that.
super team, right? Think about it.
Yeah.
That's how he won, right? Trump, back to Trump. Elon Musk, man. Vivek, Tulsi. Who else has he got? RFK. Behind the scenes.
Vance, who's such a Chad. I mean,
he's got to have Jordan Peterson. He's got to have Jordan Peterson on speed dial. Like, hey, Jordan, like, how did I do on my speech last night? And Jordan's probably going like, hey,
you didn't say Jermaine enough.
Yeah. A little more Christianity, a little bit less devil, whatever. Like,
I kid. I love Jordan. I love.
So do I. Oh God, love him.
But Dream Team, absolutely. I think we're in for a huge treat. I wish January can't come soon enough, because the Department of Government Efficiency is going to be one of the best departments that the government has ever opened. You know,
oh yeah,
like,
did you see the meme of Elon walking in with the sink?
yes,
Yes,
let that
that was
sink
good.
in.
And actually, there were so many good memes yesterday. The other one that I like that made the rounds is Trump's resignation letter. Unfortunately, poor Trump, he had to resign at McDonald's because he got a promotion and he starts a new job. He starts a new job on January 25th. So it's a big one. It's a big one.
Oh, that's too funny.
He's the American dream, man. He went from working at McDonald's to then working as a garbage man
In
to
no
being
time
president of the
flat.
United States. Like, man, it's there, man. You reach for the stars, folks. It's I love the Americans. I love the Americans, man.
We're
I
making
love the
America
US.
great
I
again.
love our cousins in the US, man. And
Absolutely. And this is
yeah.
why we gotta strive for Canada to be more like that. And
Totally.
all the naysayers, wake up. And you know what? All those people that are freaking out and don't like Trump and don't like what's going on, they're going to benefit just as much as everybody
He'll be
else from
fine.
what good is going to happen because of Trump.
Well,
being elected.
if you're an American who was there in the 45th U.S. presidency under Donald Trump, tell me what he did to hurt you. You won't. There's nothing. He did. Well, maybe if you were illegally in the country and you got deported, but otherwise, if you're a real legal, hardworking American, Donald Trump didn't hurt you in any way, shape, or form during his last presidency, and he won't hurt you during this one. God, look at everything already today, man. I wish I had more money in the stock markets than the American stock markets. Holy smokes, the American stock market today.
They're rallying.
Oh, like, yeah. And meanwhile, we sit here in Canada going, wow, we got 1% this year.
Yeah, get your canoe roar out.
I got 1% investment this year and our inflation's at 5%. So, hey, I'm only down 4%. I'm good.
Only down 4%. Yeah.
Cool.
Unbelievable.
Hey, I'm watching the clock there. 55.
Yeah. Marty,
46.
where can people find you?
Of course, on Twitter, man. Marty Up North on Twitter. Come find me. Let's chat. Share your memes. Tell me how your life's going. Cool.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week. Let's do it again.
Cheers, folks. Have a good one.